good, but they're talented. Anyway, Paul done sound for our seminars for a couple of times in the seminar, and he came and said, well, what about me? Like, could I put some property in? So Paul, who you saw standing on stage in the warm-up this morning, how many of you would rent to Paul? Not too many hands. Sorry, Paul. The question is, how many of you would Paul rent to? See, Paul owns property. We talked about earlier, should you own an investment property or a house you live in? Paul is a renter here, and he owns property in Sacramento. That property's gone up in value quite a bit. If I have time today, I'll tell you that story. It's a fun story. But property goes up in value, and Sacramento worked really well. We put clients in, many of the people in the room actually are either from Sacramento or bought property there, and those are the ones that you can tell are smiling. Because last year, Sacramento was the #1 appreciating marketplace in America. Is it good to invest in the #1 appreciating marketplace in America? Yeah. Are you always going to be able to do that? There is a question for you. Do you think that we went up and put a bunch of people into Sacramento property and then by some coincidence it went up in value? Or do you think that my company spends its time researching areas that are going to go up way above average? I don't know. You decide. See, here's the thing about average. Average means half the markets are better and half the markets are below. You know that more than half. Let's do this. Here's the averages for you. Right now, half the people in this room are below average intelligence. For this room, right? Half of you are below average intelligence for the room. Is that true? That's a statistic for you. Look at averages, and they're only averages. Appreciation, though, the way that we do better than the 6% is we do a little research and a little study and a little due diligence, and we find markets that we expect will have better appreciation. Not necessarily the best in the nation, but pretty well. All right, what else? Leverage. This is a great positive benefit about real estate. In real estate, you don't have to have 100% of the money to get the asset. You control the asset for a portion of the value. So rather than have to have all of the money to buy a property, I can have just a part, a down payment, say 20%. What about 20% down on a $250,000 property? $50,000 controls the asset. Now, if the $250,000 property goes up to $300,000, how much of the $50,000 in gain does the bank get? None. But they gave you 80% of the money to buy the property. Who gets all of the gain? You do. Is that a cool deal? Now, we have bankers in the room, so we're not going to hit too much on this today. So here's what leverage is. The use of credit or borrowed funds to improve one rate of return. So leverage is something that will help you increase your rate of return. See, if I kept, the example I just gave you was 5-to-1 leverage, right? I'm controlling 5 parts of real estate for 1 part of cash. $50,000 is controlling $250,000 of real estate. If that real estate goes up 5%, what's my return? 25%, right? Because it's magnified by the leverage. That is why, one of the reasons why real estate beats the stock market, because there's not leverage in the stock market. All right, another reason, cash flow. Cash flow is a good thing, right? You like cash flow. In fact, you like cash flow to be positive. And here's what happens. When rental income exceeds expenses and debt service, so you take more money in than goes out, you have what we call positive cash flow. Who likes positive cash flow? Yay! All right. Now, positive cash flow isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'll talk about that this afternoon, because there's some great strategies that involve break-even or negative cash flow. But positive cash flow is eventually what you want to get to, right? More money at the end of the month, not more month at the end of the money, right? People come into our consultation. Here's one of the things people like to say. Well, I'd like to get to a point where my passive income from real estate meets or exceeds my income from my job. You realize that? Wouldn't that be good? That'd be good, right? Yeah, you can apply for that. You know when I like to wake up in the morning? When I'm finished sleeping. Not when my alarm clock says I have to get up and go to work and go to a meeting, right? In fact, I like to order my dinner without having to look at the right side of the menu to see how hungry I am. Follow me in that? How many of you like food with your meals? Yeah. So cash flow eventually is a good thing. We want to have property that provides cash flow. Bob's $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month. What's going to happen to that $4,000 a month? $4,200, $4,200, $4,200, $4,400, $4,500. It's going to continue to go up. Now, guess what? It used to be more. It's come down a little bit because that property's here in the Bay Area. But it's still $4,000 a month. So cash flow is pretty good. What else? What about tax benefits? We talked about that before, but your government is going to give you incentive to invest in real estate. And they do that through a host of means. All right, so last benefit we'll talk about is that real estate has a simple financial model. I told you earlier I invested in Cisco. I'm not really sure what they make. And I sure don't understand their business model fully when it comes to where the dollar's going, all that kind of stuff. But here's what I know about real estate. It's got a simple model. Rental property is easy for everyone to understand. Here's how it works. People live in or work in your building and pay your rent. Do I need to cover that again? That's the financial model. People live there and they pay you rent. And everybody understands that. It's not difficult to understand the financial model. Some investments are so convoluted little bit, right? In the last 60 years, there's not been a single 10-year period that if you had bought at 1 year and sold 10 years later, that you wouldn't have made money. In fact, here in the Bay Area, how much does property go up in 10 years? It about doubles in value. About doubles in value. In the last 20 years, it's gone up 10 times in value in the Bay Area. Ooh. But that's long term. If you bought here in 1989 and sold in 1994, how'd you do? How? Sorry to put salt in the wound, right? Not very good. You could have lost money in real estate. But if I bought the very peak of the market in 89 and sold in 99, how'd I do? Really good. My property went up how much? About double. But what about the future? Is the past an indication of the future? It's an indication, but it's not the only indication. Can it continue to go up? There are people right now who live in the room, who live in a $500,000 house, who can't even imagine someone paying $1 million for that house, right? The people that bought that house and it was worth $40,000 couldn't imagine it being worth $100,000. In the Bay Area, you have an advantage because you see how expensive real estate can get. You can go buy a brand new house in some areas, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, third of an acre property for $180,000. Tile roofs, air conditioning. I'll show you some of those in our case studies later today. And you go, wow, that's cheap. And it is compared to what, right? It could be a long commute. How many of you know people that commute over 2 hours because of their job in the Bay Area, right? They commute over 2 hours. I'm sorry, my time's more valuable than that. I'm sitting in the car? Ugh. But long-term will property go up? It will go up, and here's why. Real estate will continue to be a good investment, I think, for a lot of reasons. First of all, rents will continue to increase. We know rents will continue to increase because the population grows. You know, in the next 20 years, we expect there to be 50 million more people in America. Those people will have to live somewhere. You think here in Silicon Valley, capital, information capital of the world, will they be able to create a technology that eliminates the need for people to live under shelters? I don't think so. I think we're always going to need a place to live. And what about household growth? The number of households is going up, and the size of households is going down, right? There are less people in households. We have 2.3 is the average now. That's headed down more to 0.2 because we're going to have more single-family, more single households, more one-parent households, those kind of things. And then income trends. Overall, as Americans get more educated and productivity increases, there is more income in the economy. Also, I think rents will continue because second homes will become more and more popular, right? Timeshares to start with. Now, a timeshare is not an investment in real estate. Not saying it's a bad thing. And in fact, I'll sell you one later on. No. If you ever want like a crash course in sales techniques, go to one of these free timeshare seminars. It's absolutely amazing. But a timeshare is a prepaid vacation. So it's not an investment in real estate. It's a prepaid vacation. But second homes are expected to triple in the next 20 years. People want to have multiple homes. Now, of course, Ron's going, yeah, I'd like to have 3 times as many homes as I have. But because you like go places. So we don't like to rent anything. We really don't. We have a car that we keep in another city because we like to be able to fly in there where and go to the long-term parking and get the car and not have to like rent the car and stuff. So we just have this aversion to paying rent. So we have a house in that city, those kind of things. And people will continue to do that. Also, what about the echo boomers? The baby boomers, a lot of you are baby boomers. The next generation is coming up, and guess what? A lot of renters are on the way. A lot of first-time buyers are on the way. First-time buyers drive up the prices. And we know that Americans don't have a lot of confidence in the stock market. Can the stock market possibly provide the income for people's retirement that we all need? It can't. Do the numbers. So more and more investors will be turning to real estate, which is good for you now and means in the future might not be as good because there'll be more competition for profit. But I've talked a lot about real estate. I've said a lot of good things about real estate. I'm very positive real estate. Can you tell? Now, full disclosure, I have to tell you, not everyone thinks real estate is a good investment. In fact, let's look at what some of the experts have said. Experts like people from the media, people who are forecasting what's happening. Here's what some of the experts say: the prices of houses seem to reach the plateau, and there is reasonable expectancy that prices will decline. That's what Time Magazine said. Houses cost too much for the mass market. Today's average price is out of reach for 2/3 of all buyers, according to Science Digest. The goal of owning a home seems to be getting beyond the reach of more and more Americans. Business Week. The era of easy profits in real estate may be drawing to a close, Money Magazine. And if you're looking to buy, be careful, rising home values are not a sure thing anymore, the Miami Herald. So the media isn't sure real estate's a good investment. But look at when these statements were made. I am really glad I didn't rush out in 1991 to buy a bunch of houses. That would have been done. In 1947, houses cost too much. When they said that, the average house price was $8,000. $8,000. limousines for selling books and tapes. I think you should get your real estate investment advice from someone who invests in real estate, not from somebody who sells you the information so you can maybe go invest in real estate. Follow me on that? Mark Twain said it best. He said, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much.
Russell Gray is a real estate investor and expert in real estate finance and investment strategy. An advisor to Robert Helms, Russ is a faculty member for the California Association of Realtors, teaching finance to real estate agents pursuing the prestigious GRI designation. He's the co-founder and regional vice president of a successful mortgage company and the co-founder of the Advisor Financial Alliance. Here's Russ to share with you equity building financing strategies, including the amazing free duplex story.
Hey, all right. You having a good time? It's my job to make spreadsheets fun. How many of you liked math when you were in school? Right? Okay, that's good. That's good. I was arithmophobic, so I have arithmophobia. I couldn't stand math when I was in school. In fact, I had a tough time. I flunked Algebra 2 twice. But when I became an adult and I started putting dollar signs in front of the numbers, they got very interesting to me. And so it's my job to share with you some financing concepts. You know, a lot of people will come in and they will want to talk to you about mortgages and lender ratio, debt-to-income ratios, and want to talk to you about all kinds of lender criteria. And there's lots of technical things about the mortgage business that's nice to know. But the thing about technical information is available from all the technical people that are around you. Where people really tend to get lost is they don't get the concept, they don't get the strategy, and they don't know how to apply the technical information. Does that make sense? So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about financing concepts, and we want to talk to you about using financing debt as a tool to build equity. Did you hear Robert say earlier that he wants to be $100 million in debt by the end of next year? Did you hear that? $100 million. And yet we know that that $100 million will allow him to control what? More than $100 million worth of real estate, right? And so that's the purpose. So let's get into this real quick. First of all, let's get into some motivation. Let's talk a little bit about why you want to pay attention to all these spreadsheets. Why are you interested in numbers? Why are you interested in financing? Here's the sad fact. Most people finish life broke. In fact, 66.5% of Americans over 65 years old live below the poverty level. How many of you knew that? Right? I mean, maybe some of you have family members going through some of that. These are statistics we pulled up on government websites. Median annual income for persons over 65, less than $14,000 a year. Can you imagine working your entire life and ending up with $14,000 a year of income to try to live on? So it's a sad fact, but that's what's going on out there. In 1993, the median income of net worth of households over age 65 was $86,000. So net worth is what you have left after you take everything you own and subtract everything you owe. What's left is your net worth. So you work your whole lifetime, and that's all you have to show for it. So most people finish life broke, but you don't have to. And so in order to change your future, you've got to do some things. Number one, you've got to change your focus. It's, I think Robert said earlier, the same level of thinking that created the problem is not going to solve the problem. Einstein said, he was a pretty smart guy, right? Einstein? Yeah? Change your focus. Increase your knowledge. Many of you came here today to increase your knowledge. That's what this is all about. It's, I hope, not the end of your real estate education, but really the beginning for some of you. For many of you who are back with us again, it's a continuation of your quest for knowledge. Find people and resources to help you. That's huge. Do you think it's important to have people who know more than you around you? How many of you think that's a good thing to have? Absolutely. See, there's this thing, you know, we grow up watching these cowboy movies and we see these independent mavericks, these guys that don't need anybody, they do everything themselves, they don't listen to anybody. See, but the reality is success is really a team sport. And real estate is certainly a team sport. There are so many people that are going to play a critical role in helping you be successful in real estate. So get very comfortable with building relationships, making connections with people who can help you. I can't even begin to tell you how important that is. And at the end of the day, all the knowledge in the world and all the relationships in the world won't help you if you don't do what? You got to do it, right? Because no one's going to do it for you. How many of you are waiting for someone to strike an oil well in your backyard? See, that's not going to happen. See, nobody's going to come over and put in your Christmas stocking a winning lottery ticket. Do you understand? See, there's a little saying that says, if it's to be, it's up to who? Me. It's up to me. You have to go make your life happen. So, first of all, we want to cover some basic financing fundamentals. You need to understand the power of compounding interest. This is one of the 7 wonders or 8 wonders of the world. The power of compounding interest is phenomenal. Do you think that banks understand compounding interest? Oh yeah, they do. And which end of it do they like to be on? They like to be on the receiving end. Which end do they like you on? The paying end. In managing your mortgage for maximum net worth, we talk about how you can turn the tables on the banks and actually use their money to make money. Because you can borrow from them at one rate and invest at another rate, and you can end up making money with their money. But you need to understand the power of compounding interest, and we'll cover that in a little bit. Power of leverage. Robert talked earlier about leverage. Leverage is one of the most powerful financial concepts you can get. Now, one of the things you have to get used to with leverage is a thing called debt. Now, how many of you think debt's a bad thing? Go ahead, be honest. How many of you watch Suze Orman, right? On, with her pearly whites, telling you all about how you got to invest in your debt, get out of debt? And then Robert's up here saying, I want to be $100 million in debt. I don't know how much she's worth, but I can tell you, being in debt has made Robert a lot of money. Okay, the power of cash flow. This is one of my favorites. Being in the mortgage business, I understand how powerful cash flow is. When you make a promise to pay that little $1,800 a month every month to your mortgage company at 6% interest, do you know what they give you? $300,000 in cash. That's what $1,800 a month is worth. See, so you need to understand the power of cash flow. We're going to cover that. Power of compounding leverage. What if you could borrow money and then get leverage on that and then get leverage on the borrowed money? Leverage on leverage. We'll show you how to do that. All right, and then avoiding the most common mistakes. And we're going to cover a list of, I think, about top 10 or so of mistakes that people tend to make when they're picking out the real estate financing. Okay, first of all, let's cover the power of compounding interest and time value of money. If you have a $1,000 lump sum, spreadsheet number 1 for the day. Here you go. All right. Just take a look at the 10% column. If you got 10% return on that $1,000 and you just let it sit from age 20 to age 60 for 40 years, that $1,000 would be worth $45,000 at age 60. If you could just get 2 percentage points more, you'd think, oh, that's about 20% more than 10, right? So I should probably get about 20% more. But do you get 20% more? No, you get more than double. So do you think that getting an extra 2 or 3 or 4 points of return on your investments is important? It's huge. It's everything. Very, very important. Look at the 18% column after 40 years. Let's say you have a $1,000 lump sum sitting on that credit card. Now, I know none of you have that issue, right? Right, but you get out there, you're 20 years old, you get your first credit card, you charge up $1,000. It's convenient to make that little minimum payment every month, and you just kind of never get around to paying it off for your entire life. And there you are at age 60 with that $1,000 debt and 18% interest. Look what you paid. Wow. You think the banks know that? But you could take that $1,000 and invest in the bank at 7%. See, they pay you the $5,000, and they make the $750. That's why the banks have bigger buildings than you do. Okay, $100 cash flow. Let's talk about cash flow. Here's another spreadsheet for you. You check out cash flow, that $100 a month. See, most of you, maybe even for some of you, $1,000 is, whoa, $1,000, that's a lot of money. Maybe some of you young people are thinking, man, $1,000, where can I get $1,000? But $100 a month. If you get the discipline of every month just putting up $100 for yourself, and you get 10% from age 20 to age 60, 40 years, $632,000. But if you could get 12%, look at the difference. $1.1 million. So ROI, return on investment, or in real estate we call return on equity, getting that extra 2, 3, 4, 5% is huge in what it does for your life. But that's the power of cash flow. All right, now let's take a look at leverage. Now you need to understand the concept of leverage, and it works like this. What most of us call in consumer land a down payment, in real estate investing is like an equity deposit. So you've got this little piggy bank called this piece of property. What you do is you take a lump sum of money and you deposit that money into the piggy bank. Okay, we're going to call that an equity deposit. And you put that money in there, and then you get the balance of the purchase money from the lender, like Robert showed earlier. You got the big house, but you only had to put up a portion of the money. That's leverage. All right, so if you could put in half the money of your own money and get the other half from the bank, then your leverage is 2 to 1, because you're controlling 2 parts of real estate to 1 part of cash, or of equity, right? So your ratio is 2 to 1. So if that property moves up, the appreciation is magnified by your leverage, because you get both sides. You get the bank side plus your side of the appreciation. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll cover it again in just a second. But if you only put 20% down, down. Now you're in it 5-to-1 because you're controlling 1/5. You're controlling 5/5 of the property with 1/5 of the money. Make sense? 5-to-1. That property moves 5%. 5% times 5-to-1 leverage is what return? Come on, you guys. 25%. Absolutely. You can get in at no money down, and it appreciates what's your return. It's infinite. Okay? Now, we just found out how important it is to get that extra 3, 4, 5, 6%. What if you could get yourself up to triple-digit returns? What if you could buy a property for 5% down or 10% down, and that property moved 10%? At 10% down, a property that moves 10% is 100% return on your equity. 100%. Let's take a look in real life, right? Because you can only take so many spreadsheets, I understand. If you have a $250,000 property and you put $50,000 down, that's 20%. So you're in at what? 5-to-1. Okay, you get 5% appreciation on that $250,000. I know it's early. 5% of $250,000 is $12,500. So if you get $12,500 of gain on a $50,000 investment, then what's your return? 25%. See? So the math checks out. Remember when you were a kid, you do the math and then you had to go back and check your work and you back into the math and see if the answer is balanced? Same idea here. Real estate ownership pay. Here's another concept in leverage, very important. You can control a $250,000 property with $50,000. How many of you came here today with $50,000 in your back pocket? Right? Oh, great. Okay, come see me afterwards. But if you don't have it, then what does it take to control $50,000? Remember I talked to you about the power of cash flow? Mortgage companies like to convert their lump sums of cash into streams of income. So they'll give you a lump sum of money if you'll promise to pay them a monthly payment. And so cash flow and equity is what you need. So if you've got cash flow and you've got equity, then you can go get $50,000 of that equity and access it with cash flow. Here's what that looks like. $50,000 cash out mortgage on property A. How many property owners do we have in the room? Okay, a whole bunch. Anybody here own property more than, say, 5, 7 years? Okay, you probably have a little bit of equity in that property then, yeah? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. You own a property, you've got some equity in it now. What you're going to do is go in and you're going to get $50,000 of that equity out. You still get to live in the house. It's still going to go up in value. You still get tax breaks. In fact, you get a bigger tax break now, right? Because you have a little bit bigger loan. So nothing changes except that you have a little bit more leverage on the piece of property you're in, and now you have cash to go do something else. What else might you do? Well, first of all, let's figure out how much it's going to cost you. Your payment at 6% interest on a 30-year loan on that $50,000 is $300 a month. Now, doesn't $300 a month sound a little bit more achievable than $50,000? Anybody here ever bought a new car? Okay, you know how it is when you walk in to get the new car, you're looking at the stickers, and you walk in and the person says, can I help you? And you say, no, I'm just looking. But really, you want to buy the car, but you just don't want them to take your money. And so they ask you, well, what kind of a payment did you have in mind? Isn't that what they always lead with? What kind of a payment did you have in mind? Because they know you don't buy price, you buy what? Payment. You don't buy price, you buy payment. And so they say, well, what payment would you feel comfortable with? And you say, oh, I feel comfortable with about $300. And they say, well, let me go talk to my finance managers, and they come back with what? $375. They always stretch you a little bit, right? Okay, but they know that you're going to buy the payment, because for you to pay $50,000 for a car, or 60 or whatever the number is, of course, the $60,000 car probably costs you about $1,500 a month, right? If you don't put any money down. But in real estate, because it's 30 years and the interest rates are very low, the payments for how much cash you control are very low. You with me? So it doesn't take a lot to control the property, or control the $50,000. So you get your payment of 6%, it's $300 per month. $50 of that is principal. Now, or amortization. Like, you know, amortization, mortuary to kill the loan balance. And so every month you put in $300, but $50,000 comes off your loan balance. Okay? So every month your balance sheet's getting a little stronger as that loan gets paid off. Meanwhile, you get to do what with the other $250? It's interest. You get to do what? You get to deduct it, right? We're going to cover that again in just a second. $50,000 to invest at 20% down gets you that $250,000 property. So now you've got two properties. You've got property A, the one you started with, and now you've got property B. And presumably you're controlling property B and the mortgage on property B with what? When you buy income property, you buy and pay for two things: income and property. And so when you get the rental income, you use that to control the mortgage, and then you use the tax deductions to control the down payment. So effectively, you're no money down into the second property. You with me? Okay, if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to cover it again in a second because I am going to get to draw on this fancy projector we've got. At 5% appreciation, that second property grows $12,500 a year. Now, how much of your money is in this deal at the end of a year? What do you think? Now, you got $300 a month in the deal, right? You don't have $50,000. That's the bank's money. All you've got is $300 a month times 12. So let's see what that looks like. You get $250 a month of interest because the $50 was paying off your debt, right? So you took it out of your checkbook and you put it into your equity account. You with me? Okay? So really your cost is only $3,000 of interest. Now, forgetting the tax deduction and just saying at 5% appreciation, that property B goes at $12,500, your returns look like this. You got a $12,500 capital gain, unrealized because you haven't sold the property, less $3,000 of your cost to access the $50,000. So at the end of the year, you've got a $9,500 pre-tax unrealized gain. Make sense? What's that as far as the return on investment? 316%. 316%. Is that better than 12? See, so you notice all the little dollar signs on there? See, that's when math got interesting to me. All right, so where do you find the $300 a month? Well, first of all, how many do you pay taxes? How many of you love paying those taxes, right? Yeah, most of us would probably like to try to find a way to get out of paying tax. Now, we're not talking about not paying tax that you owe. What we're doing is we're talking about trying to find ways to reduce the amount of tax that you owe. So it's better to work with the law than against it. Does that make sense? Okay? And so we're going to have a CPA come and tell you some things that you can do to help make the tax code work for you. Do you think it's important to stay up to date on what's going on with tax law? Absolutely. You cannot afford to be ignorant. When I got to the point in my life where I was paying $50,000, $60,000 a year in taxes, I decided that it was probably worth my time to become educated. And so if you're serious about going out and improving your financial position, then you are going to have to deal with taxes. You might say, well, you know what? I don't like taxes very much. Oh, well, you know, I don't like math very much. Sorry. You know, I mean, there's a price you pay, right? I mean, no, like I said, I didn't see any hands go up. Any oil wells being struck in anybody's backyard? It's not going to happen. You've got to go out and do it, but this is what you have to do. So get familiar with two schedules, Schedule C and Schedule E. Schedule C is the losses or profit on a sole proprietor, self-employed person. So you can start up a little side business, and I'm not here to give you tax advice, but the point is there's, if you go to the IRS website and download that schedule, you will find things on there that you can use to create deductions. And get very familiar with a term called depreciation. Schedule E is the schedule you get to fill out when you own income property. And so those are two schedules you want to be familiar with because you can find free money by getting tax credits against taxes you're already paying. That's found money. Okay, reduce or eliminate amortization. I'm a big fan of interest-only loans. You know, if I'm going to go in and refinance a property and pull equity out so I can go buy another property, why would I want to put equity in to start with? My goal is to put as little into the property as possible to control as much top-line real estate as I can. See, because here's the way it works. Cash flow controls mortgages. Mortgages control real estate. Real estate appreciates, and equity makes you wealthy. Does that make sense? So, cash flow controls mortgages. Mortgages control real estate appreciates, and equity makes you wealthy. And so, interest-only loans are a great tool when you can get them. The other thing that's great is go with a longer term. A lot of people say, I want that 15-year loan, I want to pay it off fast. Wrong answer. What you do is you end up creating all this huge amount of cash flow problem for yourself, and all you're doing is paying down the loan with after-tax dollars, because the pay down, the amortization, is not deductible. And so you go work and you make, $100 at your job, and then they take 40% of it, and you take the 60 that's left, and then you go pay off a note to save yourself 6% interest less, which is deductible, which is maybe a net of 3.5 or 4. How many of you would invest money at 4%? When you prepay your mortgage, that's what you're doing. Why would you do that? Because you didn't know. But now you know. All right, reduce interest. Okay, if you pick the right program and the right lending terms, then you can often get a lower rate than what is the typical mortgage out there. And I don't have time to go into a lot of that detail today, but it's well worth getting educated. You know, a lot of people think the house or the piece of property is the biggest expense. It's not. The biggest expense is the financing and the interest attached to the financing. You need to learn how to work those things in your favor, not the bank's. Here's the most common mistakes that people make when they're doing financing. Okay, the first thing is they build up too much equity in a single property. A lot of people start out with the goal, I want to get the house paid for. Then I want to own a second house and get it paid for. And then I want to get everything paid for. And then I'm going to get all this cash flow, which of course is taxable. Okay, the other thing is they want to consume the taxable positive cash flow. So the property starts spitting off all this cash flow, and you're like, woohoo, I got money. And you take it, you start to spend it. At the end of the year, you send in your tax return, and the tax man says, well, wait a minute. I want a piece of that action. And so maybe that's not the best way to pull money out of your property. If it's the only way, then you got to do it, right? But is it the only way? No, it's not the only way. There are other ways to do it. Okay, making extra principal payments. We just got done talking about that. If you're going to pull the money out again, why put it in the first place? It makes no sense. Okay, using a 15-year mortgage, talked about that. The difference between a 30-year and a 15-year mortgage is a little tiny break in interest because the bank is getting their working capital back sooner, so they give you a discount for that. But in exchange for that, what you're doing is taking a payment that would be like this and making it like this, and like I said, the difference there is after-tax pay down of the loan. So basically you're investing in your own debt, and that would be fine if there were no other investments available. Remember when Robert said, you know, is it a good deal? I think he was talking about that's expensive. But the answer is 3 words, right? Compared to what? See, when you're going to make an investment, you have to ask yourself, is that a good investment? Well, compared to what? Compared to what? If you know that you can go into real estate and make 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 300% return, why would you want to invest at 3.5%, 4, 5%? You wouldn't. Using a fully amortized mortgage, same thing. You're taking chunks of money, after-tax dollars, and you're pumping it into your loan. All right, using a 30-year fixed, no-points mortgage. This is my favorite, okay? What do you think the #1 loan sold in America today is? 30-year fixed, no points, no fee. Why? Because Grandpa did it, right? Because great-grandpa did it. Because back in their day, inflation wasn't what inflation is. All right, so they want a 30-year loan. See, those same people that said you go to work for a company, and then you work there till they give you the gold watch 40 years later. Now, is that the way it works in our economy today? It doesn't work that way, right? So the industry knows that the average person sells or refinances their home every 4 to 7 years. At 4 to 7 years, do you care what the interest rate is on your loan 10 years from now? If you're going to get rid of it, what do you care? It could be 100. It doesn't matter because you're out of the loan. You may even be out of the property. And so if you can get a discount for using a shorter-term loan, maybe that makes sense, right? And what about points? I don't have time to go into all the details on points, but if you think about it, points buy down the interest rate so you get a cheaper payment. If you're going to stay in a loan for 30 years, don't you want the lowest payment possible? If it only took you 2 years to recoup the points and then for the next 28 you save money, would that make sense? Most of the time it does. But that's the second question, because the first question is how long are you going to keep the loan? And so you have to begin with the end in mind. Investor versus consumer mentality. We talk about this all the time. This is huge. Remember the very first thing we talked about? If you want to change your future, you have to change your focus. Yeah, the same thinking that created the problem isn't going to solve it. Okay, here's the way consumers look at things when it comes to real estate. They focus on interest rate and debt. I want the cheapest interest rate. I want to be debt-free. Okay, that's the way consumers think. Here's what investors focus on: cash flow and net worth. If you're using leverage and you lose control of your cash flow, you lose control of the portfolio. And if your job is to go create wealth for yourself, that wealth is represented in a term called net worth. You take all of your assets and you subtract all of your liabilities, and at the end, you want a big number. Now, if I have to have $100 million in debt so I can control $200 million in assets, and I have a $100 million net worth, isn't that better than having $1 million net worth with no debt? Because you can always peel it back in, right? Okay? So it's just a different mentality. Now, I hear the sound of breaking glass out there, some paradigms being broken. And that's what happens. People come to these seminars and they think, that they're going to get some secret formula. The secret formula is changing the way you think. Okay, there's 4 ways to make money with investment real estate. Okay, the first one's cash flow. That's when you have money coming in and money going out. And if at the end of that exchange you have more coming in than going out, you have made a profit, right? basic. Amortization is the pay down of the mortgage. When you have a mortgage that the tenant is paying, effectively, because they pay you rent, you use their money to pay the mortgage, if part of that payment is going towards paying down the debt, that's profit to you. You can't say that about living in your own house, because if you do that in your own house, then who's paying it down? You are, with after-tax dollars. Okay, depreciation, this one's huge. These are tax credits you get for a non-cash expense. Do you hear what I said? Non-cash expense. That's an oxymoron, like reliable copier. Two words that don't belong together. Non-cash expense, right? And so what this is that the government looks at the building and says, well, you know, this building is going to wear out over time, but the dirt it's built on will last forever. And so therefore, the value of the dirt cannot be written off as a loss, but the building can be. And so every year you get to take a loss on paper for which you put no money out, and that's called depreciation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later at one of the following speakers. Appreciation, this is our favorite, okay? And that's where you just live in the property or you own the property and time just sends the price up. Equity happens. Now, those of you that own property for more than 5 or 10 years have experienced that, right? How hard did you have to work for that? Like Robert always talks about, my hard-earned equity, right? You just happen to own the property. Now, if it worked good one time, do you think it would work good twice? And if it worked well twice, do you think it would work well 4 times? And if it worked well 4 times, would it work well 8 times? Okay, how much property do you want to own? All of it, thank you. All right, here's the free duplex story. Okay, I'm going to tell you how it works, and then I'm going to draw it on this projector. What you do is you use a new mortgage to transfer idle equity into an income property. Use tax credits in the rental income to cover all the payments. So basically, you have the down payment for free. Allow passive equity and leverage to improve your net worth over time. Because remember, it's about net worth, right? So now you're controlling cash flow and net worth. Am I talking about interest rate here? Do I care? If I have an 8% interest, in fact, I'll tell you, my first rental property, my interest rate was 12.6%. And it was positive cash flow because the rent covered it. As long as the rent covered it, did I care? Now, do I like it better when it's lower? Sure. But am I not going to invest? How many of you drive back and forth to your job? And you do that because you love the scenery and all the people at the workplace, right? Oh, no, you do it for the paycheck. Okay, so you go to work for the paycheck. So you drive to work, you do your thing, you come back at the end of the week or the end of the month, whenever you get your paycheck. Now, you go to the gas station, you put gas in your car, and it's $1.50 a gallon. You go to work. You come to the gas station the next day, and it's $2 a gallon. What do? Call in sick, can't come to work. Don't want my paycheck this week, because gas is $2 a gallon. You see, the way an investor thinks is, I like it when it's 5% money, but if it's 8% money, do I stop investing? If I can borrow at 8% and earn 20, do I want to do that? How much 8% money do I want to borrow if I can get 20%? All of it, exactly. Okay, so let's take a look and see what the free duplex story looks like here. Now, this isn't in your notebook, so you can try and track with me if you want to, or just watch and listen. Here's a house. Here's your standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot, 45-year-old, galvanized plumbing. It's got the little shingles on the roof that look like tortilla chips, right? Okay. And it's on maybe a 3,500 square foot lot here in Silicon Valley. $500,000, a cool $500,000, right? See, nobody laughs here. Because they're like, yeah, so, right? There are places in the country where people can't even fathom that. All right. Now, let's say you've got a $250,000 mortgage sitting on that property, which means you have what? $250,000 of equity. Now, after coming to this presentation, you say to yourself, gee, I've got an awful lot of idle equity. I'm controlling this property at 2-to-1 leverage. That doesn't seem to be very effective. So what you decide to do is you decide to get rid of this crummy mortgage, and you go over here and you get a $300,000 mortgage, and that means you just reduced your equity by $50,000, which is now cash. So you get $200,000 of equity, but now you have cash. At 6% interest, what does it cost you to control that $50,000? Do you remember? $300. There you go. So over here, just get your expense column going. You get $300. And that's principal and interest. Do you remember how much of it's principal? $50. Okay? So you've got this going out, and you've got $50 coming in amortization. Now, it isn't profit to you, but it also isn't loss because you're just moving it from one pocket to the next, right? So what have you got left? You got $250 a month going out of interest. What do we know about interest on your primary residence? It's tax deductible. So let's say that you're in roughly, you give up about a third of your income in the tax bracket. I know some of you would have a party if that's as low as it was, right? But between state and fed, you give up about a third of it. So what you do is you say, I'm going to get about an $80 tax credit here for the deductible interest. So now you're down $170. Okay? But for that $170, you're controlling $50,000. What might you do with that $50,000? You might go buy an income property. So let's say you go over to the other side of town. In this case, it's probably the way other side of town. And you've got a $250,000 little duplex here, and you put down $50,000, you get yourself a $200,000 loan. At 7.5% interest, you have no way of knowing this, but I'll tell you, it's $1,400 a month, principal and interest. And let's say you've got taxes of about $250 and insurance of about $50. At the end of the day, you got about $1,700 going out. But remember, when you buy income property, you buy and pay for two things, right? Income and property. And so now we've got the income coming in, and so you've got these happy little tenants here that are happily living in your place and happily paying you $850 a month each. And so you bring that $1,700 down here, and it offsets your expense, and even though you didn't make money, you didn't lose money, and that's the way we make money in real estate. Number one is cash flow. All right, so now for $170 a month, you own this duplex. Second way we make money in investment real estate is the amortization. So out of this $1,400 a month that we have here, we've got $150 a month that is paying down your debt. Whose money is it being paid with? The tenants. Is that profit to you? Say yes, because that's the answer. So over here, you've got $150 of amortization. So now you got minus 20 on your expense column, and we've just taken advantage of amortization. Third way we make money in investment real estate is depreciation. This is where it gets a little sticky, okay, so stick with me. You've got the house, the duplex over here, and you've got the lot. Let's say the lot is valued at 20% of the property, and this is 80%. So what you do is you get to take 80% of the purchase price, or 80% of $250,000, which in this case is $200,000, and that becomes your depreciable basis. And the depreciation schedule, if you don't know, is 27.5 years straight line. What does that mean? Who knows? 27.5 years. It means that you can take a $200,000 and every year deduct 1/27th of it until you're done. Okay? So what you do is you divide it by 27.5 and you get $7,272 a year. Why? Because they do this all the time. Okay? So you've got $7,272 of lost non-cash expense. And then you divide that by 12 and you find out that you're losing $606 a month on paper, and the government will give you a tax credit that's worth roughly whatever your tax bracket is. Let's say it's a third, so it's a couple $100, you get another tax credit over here. So now you're plus 180. So how much is this duplex costing you? So far it's looking pretty good, right? See? Now, if you can imagine going down to Charles Schwab and they want to give you, you want to get a retirement account, and they tell you that, you say, well, Chuck, I'd like to set up this retirement account. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to actually open the account, and then you pay me $180 every month. And at the end of the month, at the end of the year, I want $12,500 of capital gain on top of my 180. You think they have accounts like that at Charles Schwab? No, Charles Schwab doesn't sell real estate. They sell stocks. But it's coming back. All right. Okay, so that's depreciation. But what's the big way we make money? Remember the big appreciation? Here it is. If this $250,000 property goes up 5%, what is that? Remember? Come on. $12,500, yeah? There's your capital gain, $12,500. All right, now if you let that go for 10 years, you've got $125,000 of what we call new equity. And new equity is the best kind of equity. It's a lot better than equity you create, right? It's better when the market gives it to you. So you got $125,000 of new equity. Now, do you think your rents have gone up in 10 years? Sure. So let's say your rents have gone up from $850 a side to $1,200 a side, which is a difference of $350 times two sides is $700. Now you get $700 a month of positive cash flow. And so you say, well, I'm going to take that positive cash flow. If you take it, then you have to deduct it by your tax rate. Let's say you're making more money now and it's 40%. Now you're down to $420 a month that you could take. So that's a way to do it. But what if instead of doing that, you took that $700 a month and you went over here and you got yourself a brand new $100,000 mortgage? Because remember the power of cash flow? See, a bank at 7.5% interest on a 30-year amortized loan will give you $100,000 of what? Cash. Do you have to pay tax on that? No. Does it spend just as good as positive cash flow? Yes. Is it better to get $100,000 today or $700 a month for the next 30 years? I'd rather have the $100,000 today, right? And so you could spend that, or you could go do this again times 2. And so you start with 1, and then you have 2, and then you have 4, and then you have 8. And later on today, we'll show you what that really works at by the numbers, because we'll show you how to take $500 a month and turn it into $12 million in just 20 years. Thank you very much.
Everyone's reason for investing is different, and no two investors have exactly the same needs. In this segment, Robert outlines the importance of developing your own personal investment philosophy.
What I'm going to do now is talk about what I think is one of the most important parts of your real estate investment future, and that is your personal investment philosophy. See, each person in this room wants real estate to do something for them, and it's probably not the same as the person sitting next to you. Real estate is not the end. How many of you wanted to invest in real estate because you wanted to intimately get involved in the lives of your tenants? No, that's not the reason, right? How many of you wanted to invest in real estate because you love the smell, taste, and feel of dirt? No, that's not it. How many of you want to invest in real estate so you can clean human hair out of toilets? That's not why we choose to invest in real estate, right? We choose to invest in real estate for the lifestyle it can provide, and what it provides for you is different depending on what you're trying to achieve. So we're going to spend some time this afternoon talking about your personal investment philosophy, yours. Now, the question people ask a lot of times is, what do I invest in, right? There's all kinds of real estate. What should I invest in? There's all kinds of things you can invest in. You can invest in fixer-upper properties, buy and hold properties. You can invest in foreclosures. You can invest in tax lien certificates. You can invest in development, subdividing, that kind of stuff, assignable contracts, lease options. There are all kinds of things available in real estate. And the more you learn about real estate, the more you know the kinds of things that are available. And so the question is, with all these things going on, what should you invest in? What makes sense for you? And the answer for everybody is different. What you decide to invest in might not work for the person next to you. And what they decide to invest in might work okay right now, but it might not work forever. So, there's a more important question than what, and that is, how, what's best? What's best for you? And the answer is, what's the answer? Yeah, it is the answer. It depends. It depends. What does it depend on? It depends on you and your family's goals and your ability and the skills that you have. For instance, think of people that come in and go, I don't really have any money, but they have skills. They know how to paint or do carpentry or those kind of things. I mean, I'm not positive which end of the hammer to use, so I'm probably not the guy you want doing a lot of your repair work. But there are people that are really good at that. So the answer is, it depends. And it shouldn't be a bologna sandwich for everybody. That's one of the problems I have with the guys that sell the books and tapes, is that what they're about, it's not, again, it's not the